Okay, can you guys see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh. I'll just give it another couple minutes or so till we can get the last few people filtering in. We'll keep going. But yeah, if you guys click on that link I just sent, I'll actually just show you on the screen. Now it should take you to this folder here, and not this one actually. I said this one here. So if you can make a start and download this zip file already, that'll help you for the tutorial later on. It takes quite a while to download. But basically, what this is what we'll be doing today. This is a side scroller with no sprites in it, and as I assume you're all artistic people, it's a lot of rain. As I assume you're all artistic people, I'd like you to repopulate the boring side scroller with some nice assets for me during this workshop. Can you guys get that rain from your side?
I can't.
It's all good.
Jeff, this tutorial is just in 2D. It's basically a complete intro to importing art into Unity and creating art for Unity. No worries. Awesome. So I reckon we'll make a start right about now. Thanks for coming, guys. It's a small crowd, but I like small crowds. You can have more bands. All right, can you guys see the slideshow and hear me okay?
Yep.
Awesome. Cool. So welcome to Art and Animation in Unity. So what we'll be doing today is, I mentioned earlier, but I think we've had a couple new people join since. We will be learning how to create sprites for a 2D game and how to import them, and as well as learn some of the principles behind art for games. First off, ideally you'll have Unity version 2020.3.31 F1. How many of you here already have Unity?
Well, I do definitely.
Awesome. Just throw me a
yeah, I got it.
Cool. Throw me a thumbs up if you've got Unity already on your computer. Or good if not.
Oh, and if you're wondering how to do reactions on Zoom, like it's a little reaction button to the left of the exit meeting button.
Cool. So Clinton, if you could just flick through the link to download Unity in the chat anyway.
Sure, just give me a second to get it.
Yeah, no worries. That'll be up there.
Or the actual link itself?
Yeah, to download Unity.
All right.
Yeah. It's 2020.3.31 F1. So it should be, if you have Unity Hub, I think it will be the most recent recommended release of Unity. I think it should be fine if you have a slightly different version. I'll just make it easier to download because, oops, sorry, Clinton, that was 3.1 F1, 1.3 F1.
Oh.
Yeah. No worries.
Enough.
Yeah, same thing. The only thing is.
Wait, is this the right link or is it the other download link? Because it's like.
No, I think that should be the right one.
Okay.
Cool. So if you guys don't have Unity already, get that downloaded. Otherwise, while that's downloading, could you also go to the, I posted a message with resources for today, earlier, if you could go into that link and download the boring side scroller Unity project, that'd be awesome. Let me know if you guys have any problems with that, but if you have access to the slideshow, the links should be in the speaker notes. Oh, okay. So we're covering quite a lot today. I'll try and not make it too boring, and I'll try not to ramble too much. So what we'll be doing is we'll be doing a bit of an intro to game art, how to get your art into Unity, how to create animations in Unity, and then the last hour or so will be you guys having a bit of free time to polish up your game and ask some questions. Cool. Also, feel absolutely free just to interject at any time if you have a question. I'm all ears. Cool. Intro to game art. So one thing I did actually want to know from you guys is how many of you guys here are artists, and what kind of experience do you guys have with art? I was going to do this as a poll, but I think because of the numbers here, I'm happy for you guys to flick it through as a chat. So have you guys been doing art for years? Is this the first day of your artistic journey? Passable stick, man. We love to see it.
Got a bit of experience in mixed art.
Nice. Yeah, because I know some people like, you know, they've already been doing art for a while, but they come to these tutorials to learn, okay, how can I get this in a game now? So I guess it's just nice to know who are around. Awesome. Nice fantasy maps. That'll be really useful, especially when coming into, if you're interested in 3D development, that'll be really awesome for terrain. Cool. That is okay. There is 0 artistic experience required. Cool. So what is game art? I think art has this perception of kind of being overlooked as just this kind of pretty wrapping you can have on a game, which it's not. It serves quite a few functions in games. It controls 3 main points: clarity, satisfaction, and style of the game. And I will go into a little bit of depth about what each of those mean. So clarity is basically being able to communicate information to people as quickly as possible. So if you need to know if you're low on health, or if you fired a bullet, or if you have a spell recharge, you need to know that immediately. You're not going to wait for a pop-up to tell you your magic has recharged or your health is low. So it's the job of the artists to figure out how to quickly and clearly communicate information, in-game information to players. Satisfaction. So when a player, this sounds kind of like something like kind of for granted, but when a player plays a game, they should really feel like their actions are having immediate effect in the world. And kind of it comes down a little bit to the programmers in terms of like getting things to respond, but visually there needs to be impacts and things like when players are doing something in the world to show that something is happening when a player is doing something. And style. So style basically affects the entire feel of a game. I mean, if you can imagine, and just how big this is, I guess an example I can think of is the difference between PUBG and Fortnite. Like they're both, in terms of like as games, there's similar styles of games, but because the styles of gameplay, but because of the visual style they've been represented in, they both have very different feels when they play them. Like, you know, Fortnite is obviously more aimed at children and more brightly colored. It's a lot more lighthearted to play, I guess is what I mean. Whereas PUBG is more realistic and has a slightly darker tone, and it affects the whole feel of the game, despite them both being similar games. Cool. So where do we start? So there's a lot of art programs out there. I highly recommend you start somewhere free because I don't know about you guys, but I'm not spending money on something I'm not sure I'm into yet. So we're focusing on 2D art today. but there is some, I've also given some options here for 3D art. If you're looking into 3D, Blender is going to be probably your best friend when you start off looking into that. It's a pretty well-rounded 3D editing and sculpting software. And 2D art, what we'll be using today, or what I'll be encouraging today, is Piskel. So that's it's basically a browser-based pixel art making software, and it has really nice support for creating animations, which we'll be doing later today as well. But otherwise, if you're just into general art, I can really recommend Krita. That's currently what I'm using when I draw. Inkscape's more for vector drawings. So that's kind of more shape geometry based stuff rather than drawing by pixel, if that makes sense to you guys. Let me know if it doesn't. Blender donut tutorial, classic. I'm not going to pretend I haven't watched it a couple of times. Awesome. Welcome to whoever just joined us. Cool. Does anyone, after this point, I'm going to leap straight into creating art and getting it into Unity, but does anyone have any general questions about this first section before we springboard off? No? Awesome. Cool. So what we'll be doing next is we will be taking a look at the game that I've attached to you guys. So I mentioned this earlier, but once you've got your boring side scroller zip downloaded, if you could extract it, and once it's extracted, go into the assets and scenes folder and click on sample scene.unity. It will open up your game in the Unity editor, which should look like this. Can you guys see that? Or is my share not?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. So it'll open up in an editor that looks like this. I realized I have not. No, we're all good. Okay, cool. So let's scope out our game. So while you guys are waiting for that to download, I'm going to give you a quick show of what the game is. I realized here I've got a version I worked on before. It's kind of one. It's like, here's one I prepared earlier. But I'll show you in essence what we're going to make today. So it's a very basic side scroller game. It's just, but what you guys will have instead of this little sprite here is you guys will have a little white box. So it's all in all pretty boring visually. You can jump around, little box you can push around, and there are some spikes you can die on. And there is a little win goal at the end of the game. But overall, that's what we've got today, and this is what we're going to want to make pretty. Cool, cool, cool. So looking at that, we can actually see there's quite a lot that it could improve on in terms of art. So the artist needs to create a bunch of sprites. So that's not just the player character, but that's also, if there were enemies in the game, they need to create enemies. They need to create the environment, fix up the objects, as well as basically any other visuals that are going to be in the game. Artists also need to add effects like particles, light, and color changes. For example, the character might flash red when they take damage. They also need to add animation to make it actually look like the character and things in the environment are moving. So it's a lot to do. We won't get through all of those today, but I hope I can address how to do some of those. Cool. So let's start with some art. This is where it gets mildly interactive. Let's make a protagonist for this game. So I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes or so. Clinton, if you could link Piskel into the chat. You guys are welcome to use any, if you guys are already artists, you're welcome to use any art program you already have, as long as it has support for making animations. But if not, Piskel is a good choice.
Here's the link. Just press create sprite at the top right or in the center.
So I'll give you guys a little tour of Piskel. So you'll basically just have this big empty editor here. What I quite like about pixel art is you can draw it with your mouse and it still looks okay. At the very least, you can like pass it off as a sort of like a style thing. So that's why we're using Piskel today. So I'll just give you guys 5 minutes or so until 6:20 to have a go at drawing up a quick character that you'd like to see. Okay. Have you guys all managed to get onto Piskel okay?
Yep.
I'll make one alongside you guys. What I'm going for this one. So are we mostly, would I be right in saying that we're mostly programmers here?
Yeah.
I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I haven't done much of either.
Yeah. Oh no, fair
Very
enough.
new.
Honestly, and that's fine. I think Unity is a really great place to learn how to do this stuff. I mean, I think the biggest testament to that is this time last year, I was taking my intro to Unity tutorial given by Clinton, and this year I am giving the tutorial. So that's, I mean, you know, if I can learn it, anyone can learn it.
Awesome.
Damn, I wish you could send through, can you send through pictures in the Zoom chat? That's another thing. I guess this is what I miss about doing stuff in person, because like I feel like I could go around and check out what people are doing. All right, cool. So I'm gonna move on, but feel free to keep working on your sprites as I talk. Go back to the slideshow. What am I up to? Cool. So now that once you've finished creating your sprite, you just want to hop over here to export, if you guys can see that, and you will just go to PNG and download, and then that'll save that for you. Cool. So have you guys managed to get the game open on Unity for you guys?
I have still yet to do that actually.
Yeah, no
Do that
worries.
now. Wait, so it was under scenes, right?
Yep, yes, scenes, and it should be called sample scene.
Okay. Interesting. Because when I do go to open it in Unity Hub at least, I don't get any of the Unity files.
Huh, that's interesting. Have you extracted the file?
Yeah, I did.
Hmm.
Yeah, I did, but
If you're comfortable with it, you can share your screen if you like, and I can see if I can take a look at what's going on.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me just
Yeah,
do
no
that.
worries.
Yeah, when sharing
God.
Unity files, like you might need to like delete everything except the assets, packages, and project settings folders, and then Unity will build everything back again.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like, well, we'll see like how Izzy does it. But like another issue that's commonly experienced is, the build files is, or the compiled stuff is like unique to Izzy's computer, so it can't be shared to like other people's computers. Like,
Yeah.
but
Oh.
we'll see what Izzy has to say first.
Okay, see, so like when I go to this, and then I got my stuff. Wait, that's the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Whoops. Okay, so I got my boring sprite scroller, I got my assets and my scenes, but the Unity files do not
Oh.
appear here.
Huh. That
Even though I
is
definitely
odd.
have them.
Yeah, that is odd.
Yeah, that's strange because I can see the scenes when I downloaded it, so
Yeah.
that's weird.
Okay,
Is it?
maybe it's.
Did you potentially stop it mid-download, or is it still downloading?
I'll download it again. Actually, maybe that'll fix it.
Could also be
Yeah.
like an antivirus thing.
Honestly, I wouldn't know. Eh? I would not
Yeah.
know.
I really hate to be a bother. Clinton, I'm just realizing now, I think I have the wrong version of the game uploaded to the drive there. That's on me.
I literally downloaded it just now. I didn't like I could see the
Yeah.
scenes.
No, there's just one thing that I updated on it that makes animating a bit easier. It's a little tricky without it. It was basically just like a hierarchy thing where I accidentally had a whole bunch of stuff under the same thing in the hierarchy, so I just decoupled those. But
I just export, like just upload a new copy, and then like we'll work on sprites in the meantime.
Yep. Okay. Cool. So what I'll do. Very sorry about this, fellas. What I'll do is I will upload the correct version I'll upload the correct version of the game. And in the meantime, while that's uploading, I'll take you guys through the rest of the tutorial. And you guys have the slides there, so you can always refer back. Cool. So, what do we have next? I'm not sharing my screen, am I?
Nope.
Awesome. So, what you guys will want to do, does this work for you guys if I just take you through the tutorial and then you guys all have a go at it afterwards because you have access to the slides, or would you guys prefer to do it as I go?
You can probably just go through it first.
Yeah,
I think we'd be all right.
That's true. Awesome, cool. So once you have finished making your sprite and you've downloaded it from Piskel, what you want to do is you'll click into this sprites folder that'll be there in the game, and that is going to be your favorite folder as an artist. If you were an artist for a game, that would be your favorite folder, I think. So there are two ways to get your art into the folder. You can either drag your new image into the sprites folder, or you can right click, press import new asset, and just have that pop up in your folder there. So if you manage to download the game, you will see a boxy white player. And what we want to do is we want to make that more exciting. We want to replace it with our new drawing. So all you have to do, and this layout won't match the version you guys have downloaded. So that'll be fixed when you guys download the fixed version of the game that I upload later. But what you want to do is click on Sprite down here, and then drag your picture into Sprite that'll pop up over here. And that's all you have to do. As soon as you've done that, instead of a little box, you'll have your drawing bouncing around in the game. Cool. So as you can see here, and as you can see when I shared my screen, I had my art bouncing around the game rather than a boring box. Cool. I think I was just wanting to stop here to see if anyone had any questions about that section, but it's pretty straightforward, I reckon, for the most part. Did anything I mentioned in that tutorial, is any of it confusing, or are there any questions?
Seems fairly straightforward.
That's pretty good. Unity makes things very easy. I really, really like Unity. I think I'll have a go with other engines at some point, but I do just like how nice Unity is.
Surely you tried Godot.
Should I try Godot?
Supposedly, yes.
What's the main difference between Godot and Unity? I hear a lot of people talking about Godot recently.
I don't know. I think one big one's just like it's quite lightweight, but
Right.
really,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Unity is very chunky.
Yeah.
Good point. I'll take a look into it one day. Maybe we'll have a Godot tutorial. Cool. So getting animated. So I will again blast through how to make animations in Unity, and you guys are free to peruse it in your own time once we hit the free time section. Cool. So animating with Unity. I really enjoy animation. It might be one of my favorite parts of game development just because there's so much you can do with it and it's really fun. So there's a few different methods and techniques we can use to animate, and these are frame by frame animation, transforms, and bone rigging. We won't be covering bone rigging in this tutorial because I think it warrants its own tutorial, but if there is interest in that, I'm happy to teach it. So what we will be covering today is how to use transforms to make your character move and how to use frame by frame animation to make your character move. So there's a few examples of frame by frame animation here. The benefit of frame by frame animation is that it tends to be a much more, you tend to have a lot more control over how your character looks and moves, and you can do a lot more specialized things by really deciding how you want your character to look in every single frame. But obviously the problem with this is that you have to draw every single frame. So it can be pretty time consuming. I think a lot about Cuphead just because really the whole game was hand animated at such high detail. And I just can't imagine how much time it would have taken to do all of that. So transforms. I wouldn't call transform its own method. It's more something that can be used in tandem with bone rigging or frame by frame animation to just kind of give your animations a little bit more spark. So basically what this will let you do is squash and stretch your character, rotate your character, move your character around. So that might be stuff like, when your character is landing, they might squash down a little bit when they hit the impact with the floor. And last but not least, bone rigging. So this is, this method is widely used because it has its own charm, and it also saves quite a lot of time for people because if you can see in that cat quest or in both of those screenshots actually, both of those sprites are actually just one picture, but they have been rigged up to a skeleton. So all these animations have been able to be created without having to hand draw lots of different positions. So basically you give your character a skeleton and you can basically like push it around like a puppet to how you want it to look. So that is why people do like bone rigging. Cool. So today we will be making two animations, an idle and a run animation. So we'll start off with the idle animation because it's not too hard to do at all. So it's a lot of words on here, but I will summarize it for you. So Unity comes with a really awesome built-in animator as well. And I think I'll just demonstrate for you guys what's on this slide. But basically, you can see here, there's this little animation window. And how I got that up is I just clicked on Sprite here and pressed Control-6. And that brings up my animator for that sprite. And you can, as you can see here, when I press play, I could have displayed that in the editor actually, but you can see the character bobs up and down doing a very basic little idle movement. And that's just using transforms. So you guys can see I didn't add any more frames or draw any more pictures or anything. So the way we do that, I'll just clear this so I can do it from scratch. So when we're doing an idle animation, you can get very creative with them. I think there are a lot of real detailed ones out there, but for this one, we're just going to make our character bob up and down. So this is what I really like about Unity. What you do here is you just hit the record button. So it says this on the slideshow, but what we want when we're doing a idle animation is we will want kind of an inhale and then a normal frame and then an exhale frame, and that will just loop over and over. So what record means on Unity is that basically means that any changes that you make to your sprite are going to be saved as a frame. So for example, you can see if I do that and then change here and squeeze my character down here, and then I move forward a little bit more and stretch my character out. This is going to be a pretty weird animation, but you can see how it saves it as an animation. So we'll just get rid of that for now. But what we want to do is we want to have our character breathing a little bit. So for my first frame, I'm just going to stretch him up a bit, make him a little bit thinner. And then I'm going to click over to 0, 10, put him back to his original size. And then hop over to 0, 20 and then squash him down a bit. So that's his exhale. And the first one there was his inhale. So now we have the sprite breathing out, normal, and exhaling. And now what another useful thing you can do with the Unity Animator is you can copy and paste frames. So one thing that's really, really important in animation is or at least for a looping animation, is you need to make sure the last frame is exactly the same as the first. Because if the animation is going to loop over and over again, if you want it to be seamless, it has to end at the same place that it starts. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is from this exhale, we want our character to go back to normal. So Control-C to copy and Control-V to paste here. And then finally, like I said before, we're going to Control-C this very first frame and Control-V it for our last frame. And what that should give you is this little bouncing animation. And if we return to the editor, once you guys do this, you will see that your character starts bouncing along like this as well. So transforms are not complex animations, as you can see. He's not doing anything fancy, but it's a really, really quick way to make your game not look dead when no one's playing, if that makes sense. Because if you're not playing the game and it's just completely frozen and nothing's happening, it doesn't look great. So there's no difference between it, between the game being in an idle state and the game being broken, essentially. So we want to show that there's some life in the game, even when the player's not doing anything. So you can see already this makes the game look a little bit better. Welcome, Kitty. We're happy to catch you up on this later. So don't worry if this doesn't make sense to you yet. Thank you for joining us. So what we'll be doing next, if that is relatively clear to everyone, is we'll be moving on to how we might do a running animation. Was there anything about that part that needed clarifying? Cool. So these slides just go over what I went over. So breathing in for one frame, normal for the next frame, breathing out for the next frame. You guys always have access to these slides, so if you want to come back and have a go at this another time, you'll be able to do that. Cool, and your idle animation is done. Last but not least, this is where things get a little bit more complicated. Creating a running animation. So you guys could see before, basically, if the character was moving, he just stayed idle. So he was just kind of sliding around everywhere, which we kind of don't want. We want our character to jump around. If he's, we want our character to jump around basically, and actually look like he's running. So it doesn't look it doesn't hit that uncanny valley. So what we'll do is we're going to be creating a running animation in Piskel. So don't worry if you've never animated before. Running animations are, a simple running animation is not too hard to do. So what you'll want to do is redraw your character in these 4 positions here. And this last frame is just, again, a repeat of the first frame. As we know, that's what we do with looping animations. Cool. So you have this kind of straight leg pose, slightly crouched pose, a leg coming forward pose, and then back up in the air again. And to give you guys some context, it definitely does not need to look flashy. I will show you guys, these are the 4 frames I've done. Not too flashy at all. So we've got a straight leg coming down, he's pulling his leg forward again, and then he's jumping up. Awesome. Cool. And if you guys will have a bit more free time to do this later, but for the sake of time, you are welcome to just do 2 if you just want to know how to get it into the game and get it going. Cool. So if you hop back into Piskel, the character that you drew before should be able to serve, hopefully, as the starting frame, one of the frames of your running animation. And what you'll want to do, I'll actually show you guys here, is you want to click on this Add New Frame button. And make sure you click on this onion skin button over here, if you guys can see that. Because what that will let you do is it will basically let you see the previous frame. And that's really useful for knowing, okay, where should I draw my character next? Because you're like, okay, if I want my character to go up, I'm going to draw him a little higher than where he was in this frame. And basically rinse and repeat until you have drawn these 4 poses here. So I will give you guys a few minutes to make a start on that. Kitty, how are you doing? I saw you just joined. No need to talk either, but you're welcome to say hi in the chat. Oh, that broke the whole game because it scaled the components attached to the player too. Yes, so that's that's precisely why. Thank you for bringing that up, Jeff. I have fixed that in my in the updated version of the game. So that's the version I will upload for you guys to use. That was basically an issue with me. You guys are familiar with coding. Something called the single responsibility principle. It's very useful and you should use a lot. And I was not using, which is why all your things were scaling in one go. Awesome. So while you guys are doing that, I'm going to stop sharing for a few minutes. I will upload the fixed version of the game for you guys to download, and you guys have a go at creating a running sprite. Feel free to share your screen as well. I'd love to see what you guys are getting up to.
Yep. So if anyone has any problems, just screen share like here, or we could always make a breakout room and then I'll answer one questions.
Oh, it's cute. We love this. Is this all legs?
Yeah. Basically, I mean, yes. I'm just
He's-
like, yeah.
He's too powerful. He has to be stopped.
Nah.
Oh, that's incredible. I guess kind of unrelated to art, but how much game dev experience do you guys have? You guys all new on your game dev journey, or?
I have an Unreal Udemy thing that I've had for like a year and a half now. And I'm like 25% through.
Yes, that's the classic. I have about 15 or so Unity projects that I'm about 10% of the way through. That's how I do be. A 3D graphing tool. That's awesome, Jeff. Was that as part of uni work or research, or? Right. Nice. Honestly, online tutorials are pretty good. And I think especially with Unity, we're kind of blessed with just how much they provide for us. There's a lot of resources out there. I'm really sorry about that, guys, but I am currently uploading the fixed version of the game. Once that's uploaded, you guys are welcome to download it, and that should fix any problems you guys are having with animation. Have they decided yet, the second half of semester, what they're going to do in terms of the COVID response? You guys know?
I don't think so.
Because they said they'd make a decision at some point, but it's getting kind of close, and I haven't heard anything from the uni about it. It'd be nice to do things in person, but it would also be nice not to get Omicron. So.
Izzy, can I share like what I've like made?
Yeah, sure.
No, I can't screen share at the moment.
Oh. There we go. Thanks, Raskia. Well, you should be able to share now.
Yep, what up? what I think.
Oh.
If you can see it.
That's sick as hell. Oh, that's so cool.
It's actually been like ages since I've done like pixel art in animation
Yeah.
as well.
No, it looks good though. Damn.
Yeah, like 2 frames.
Yeah.
Walking animation.
Big flex. Damn. I guess it comes to some people naturally. I guess I made the bold assumption that everyone would give their character legs, I just realized. But obviously feel free to change up the moving animation if your character does not have legs.
Yeah. Oh, that's all I really had to show.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Have you done art for games much? Because I've definitely known you more as a programmy person.
Yeah, I've done some art.
Mm.
Like a long time ago, I used to do lots of pixel art. Like
Yeah.
Yeah. And then after that, I did some programming and then
Yeah.
designing. I mean, you've seen some of my art, like in the Discord channel.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I just noticed you don't put much of your art into the games I've seen of yours, though.
Yeah.
Alright, so Izzy, has the file been uploaded to the
Yes.
tutorial drive?
It has been, so you guys should be able to download that now, and that should work just fine. Sincere apologies for that. Because I am aware, and this is the whole thing about Unity not being very lightweight, I am aware that extracting it does take a while, or maybe my internet's bad, or both. But with that new version of the game, that should work for you guys. What I will do now is I will go ahead and show you how to get your frame-by-frame animation into Unity. And what's really cool about Unity, and this is, I mentioned this earlier about being able to combine transforms with other styles. But what you can have is you can have your run animation, and then on top of that, you can squash your animation a little bit to kind of give it an extra kick. Cool. So when you guys are done with your frames, don't worry if you're still working on it, you're free to keep working on them. But when you are done, click on export. And you'll want to, it doesn't matter too much how many columns or rows you choose. Just hit download on Sprite file export, and you'll get everything in a nice little sheet with all your sprites on it. And you can pop that into Unity the exact same way you did with your first sprite. But the problem is the sprite is one big image now. So it shouldn't be like that, right? Unity should be able to understand that it's actually, in this case, 4 different sprites rather than one big one. So what you need to do is you need to, I'll actually just demo it on my side again. I just closed my editor very cleverly. But you'll want to click on the Sprite Mode button and change that to multiple, and then click on here to open the Sprite Editor. And once you're in the Sprite Editor, you enter how many rows and columns there are in your sprite sheet, and then click Slice down here. And also don't forget to hit Apply. And that will create 4 different little sprites for you. And you'll be able to see in your editor that it now detects your sprite as 4 different ones.
Are you screen sharing the sides or something?
Yeah. Oh, am I not screen sharing right now?
No.
Oh, thank you guys. There we go. Can you see that?
Yeah, so you might want to like repeat the past couple of slides.
Yeah, no worries. Cool. So what you want to do is you'll want to click on Sprite down here under player, click on Sprite Mode, change that from single to multiple, and that will tell Unity basically, hey, listen, there's going to be a whole bunch of sprites in this sheet rather than just one big one. And then what you want to do is head into Sprite Editor, and this is how we're going to divide up our sprites and tell Unity exactly how we want it divided up. So if you click on Slice here, and the easiest way I find is click on Grid by Cell Count, and that way you can just enter how many columns and rows your sprite has. And once you do that, Unity will automatically divide them up nicely for you. So that's all there is to it, really. So I will just demo that here. Can you guys still see my screen?
Yep.
Cool, cool, cool. Awesome. So what I'll do here now is I will import, I'll go through the process I've kind of detailed the last hour or so, basically. So I'm going to import the new asset. I'm going to import my little running animation here. And I'm going to switch it from Sprite Mode single to multiple. I'm going to enter the Sprite Editor, apply those changes. Slice, I want to change type to Grid by Cell Count. And because I have 2 columns and 2 rows, I'm going to change my column and row to 2 and 2 and hit Slice. And that'll divide up my character for me. I'll press Apply. Hopefully that makes sense. Welcome back, Noah.
Sorry, guys. It's just my internet is not very good today, but I will
No
persevere.
worries. We respect it. Cool. So, you guys want to turn off this annoying windscreen, by the way, and just click on it in the editor and check that off. Don't get rid of it while you're trying to take a look at the editor. So, if we want to create an animation, I'm going to create this clip called Run. Our last one would be called Idle, something like that. And the only difference between how we animated last time and how we animated this time is this time we are going to add our different frames into our animation window. So now instead of just squashing and stretching, we want our sprite to change how it looks. So what we can do is quite nice. We can just drag and drop our sprites into here. So I'm going to drop one at 0, one at 10, one at 20, and the last one at 30. And because I want this to loop, I'm just going to go, this kind of makes sense. I'm going to go frame 1, 2, 3, 4, then frame 3, 2, 1 again. Same thing with that principle if we always want to have the same frame at the end as we did at the start. So how this looks, if we hit play, we've got our little character walking, just like this. And now what I was saying, the principles I taught you with respect to the idle animation, where you get the character bobbing up and down, works the exact same way with these frames. So if we want, we can see here, we've got the character dipping down a little bit here, and he jumps into the air again, up here, down and up. So maybe in the frames where he is up in the sky, we remember to hit record. If you don't hit record, it won't save your changes as frames. So we hit record and make sure we're on the frame where he's jumping up. Maybe when he's jumping up, we want him to move a little bit higher, and we want him to stretch up a little bit. And on the frames where he's dipping down low, we might want him to squash down a bit and, and be a bit lower. So he'll come down here. if we look through our slideshow, he's also dipping down here. Dip down, a bit lower here. Probably want him to be a bit higher up here. This is the general idea behind creating animations. Obviously, because this is a tutorial, I'm kind of rushing through it, but if you get really fine-grained with it, you can make it look really, really nice. So you can kind of see we've got him bobbing around up and down when he's running. Cool. Hopefully that made sense to you guys. But that is the general principle behind creating animations. Have you guys managed to download that new version? Have you guys managed to download the new version of the game?
I haven't done so yet.
Yeah, no worries. You should still be able to learn the basic principles of animations without it, but it will get a bit janky if you don't download the new version. And that's on me. It's the way I programmed it. But if you guys are interested in the programming side of Unity, you're more than welcome to take a look around in the script section and just have an explore of what's going on there. But next week, we'll also be holding a kind of intro to programming for Unity tutorial. So it'll teach you the basics of, okay, how can we get our character to move around? Basically, we'll also be using this game as an example. So by the time, if you attend all the tutorials, you should be able to create this game, create art for this game, and then do a few more fun stuff like make particles appear and explode everywhere and stuff. Cool. So that brings us to just about the end of the tutorial, really. That's as far as you need to go in terms of being an animator. I will show you one more thing. This is for when you start creating more complex animations. This is something called the Animator. So, you can see we've got a run animation here. And just because I'm using the base document, I'll create a quick idle animation as well. Click, and I'm going to call it idle.anim. Cool. This is just going to be our boy bobbing up and down. So you can see, basically you have this entry. So this is the animator. So this is how you can, this is basically how programmers and artists kind of tell the program and tell the game, okay, this is when you need to do this animation. This is when you need to do this animation. Cool. So what we'll want to do is we will want done this in a terrible order. So a default state should not be run, it should be idle. But if you guys followed the tutorial in the order in the slideshow, your default state will be the idle animation. And you'll probably work with a programmer for this part, but what you'll have is you'll make a transition, and you might have, what you'll do is you'll set a condition. So there might be a variable that your programmer has called character is running. And then you can just put in, if character is running is true, change to the run animation. Otherwise, change to the idle animation. So that's what this animator is about. I really like that it's this very visual-based system rather than making you do a whole bunch of code to do that. So basically it allows you to do everything you need to do, and then the programmers can take care of making sure the variables are correct. Like that. But otherwise, that brings us to the end of my rambling part of the tutorial. Us execs will stay on call for the next hour or so, but at this point, you guys are free to absolutely go ham on the game. Clinton's left the link to the updated tutorial file in the chat. If you download that, you should be able to follow this tutorial just fine and get your animations in the game. And if you have time, you're absolutely welcome to start making different assets for different parts of the game. So you could also see that the box was really boring. So you're welcome to make a start with designing something else that person might that your character might be pushing around as well. And the spikes are also just boring red triangles. You can replace those with something else dangerous, nicer looking spikes, or something else. And it's the exact same principle for all of them. So it's the same principle as here. You just drag it into sprites, and then you select the thing that you want to change, and you drag it into there. Do let us know if you get up to that part though, because there are a couple nitpicky things that we might need to teach you how to do. If you're going to go ahead and do that, but we are absolutely here to support you and show you how to do that. Cool. Well, that's all from me. Does anyone have any questions regarding the tutorial?
I should make a comment since you did pixel art. If you're importing pixel art, make sure you set the import settings to point filter mode.
Yeah. I'll show. I'm still showing my screen, so I'll just show that here. But what you might notice is that I've imported my nice crisp pixel art, but you guys can see that it's like kind of fuzzy, right? It's like, why would I want it to be fuzzy when I distinctly made it nice and crisp and pixely? So what you want to do to fix that is you will, in the same place that you change sprite mode from single to multiple, you want to go down here and click filter mode, point no filter. So that will make sure that it's basically, normally it's nice to have a bit of a filter because you don't want your assets, if you're not doing pixel art, to look really crisp. You want it to be like a little, it'd be a little smoother. So that's why they have the filters here. But just for pixel art, you just won't want a filter. So if we apply that, you can see immediately it has gone crispy again. So if you're doing pixel art, changing filter mode from bilinear to point will make your art look crisp. Cool. And you can also reduce compression to none for an extra boost if you're still having problems. But normal quality seems to be doing all right for me. Awesome. Cool. That was what you were trying to say, right, Clinton? I didn't just cut you off and talk about something completely different.
That's it. Like the filter mode is like the big thing. I guess if your sprite's like really big, maybe the other settings might do something, but I doubt it.
Yeah, especially with pixel art, I think sprites tend to be pretty small. Oh, well, I will stop sharing here. And I reckon at this point, what I'll probably do is I will probably work through this exercise as well, and I'll share my screen so you guys can see what I'm getting up to. So to keep you guys company while you're working on it. But for the next hour or so, it is free time for you guys to work on your sprites, look nice, add things to the game, as long as that works for you guys. And feel free at any point to ask a question. If you want to go into a breakout room, let us know and we can have a look at your work there. Otherwise, thanks for listening, guys.
Hey, Izzy, can I share my screen again?
Yeah, of course.
I've like worked on the sprites.
Yeah, go for it. No problem, Sebastian. Thanks for attending.
There you go.
Damn.
Finally
This looks
finished the
slick
body
as
animation.
hell. Oh, that's so cool. It really, I don't remember who it was that said it in the chat earlier, but it really does remind me of, like, give me like Plants vs. Zombies vibes. That's awesome. Yeah. What a classic game, honestly.
Yeah, well worth the 99 cents you pay for it. Yeah, I agree.
Yes. I think Plants vs. Zombies might have actually been like my intro to gaming, full stop. Like I can't remember a time before that where I was like, yeah, I'm so excited to sit down and play a game for like 5 hours.
It's so good, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
really freaking good. Like,
Yeah.
I remember when I was like 8 and I bought it on PC as well. I just fucking bought a disc. I was like, yo, let's go.
Yes. I mean, it still holds up very well. It's like, I don't know, it's a simple mechanic, but they did good with it. I feel like that's the hardest part about making a game. Just figuring out, I don't think you need like a lot of fancy mechanics. I think you need to make sure your game has one really fun core mechanic, but finding that one really fun mechanic can be really hard. Creating a completely original one.
They really nailed the fun factor in that one, I feel, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, so you can imagine this character moving around the level
Yes.
and having the player avoid it,
Yeah.
otherwise you get bitten. And I also have Plants vs. Zombies on my mobile game as well. It's actually free now.
They made it, well, they must have put ads on it though.
Nope. I
Really?
think they did.
Damn. What
It
a
was a
cheat.
pretty old game.
Yeah. Good for them. Maybe I'll reawaken my love for Plants vs. Zombies.
Dude, I wish they made the second one into a PC game without all the MTXs, but
Yeah.
I guess not.
It'd be like that.
Can't really improve on perfection though.
True. I like how you think.
But yeah, does anyone have any like difficulties with the tutorial or anything? Or is it alright?
The fixed version of the game, what changes were made exactly?
Awesome. Let me show you guys. I'm always keen on talking about this stuff. I think my main concern is I talk too much. So, but I am more than happy to explain. So what I have done, I've done the lazy way of camera following in this game. I know you can usually use it, and it's probably nicer to have the camera independent of the player and just have a script that makes it follows it. But I just made the main camera a child of the player, so it'll always follow it around. So initially, I had the player sprite in here as well, but as you can see in the game, I have this. To load up, there's a bit of parallax effect going on in the background. If you guys can see that when you play, you can see the different trees are moving at like different rates, and that just kind of gives the impression of movement in the game. But the problem with making parallax effect is that all that background and stuff has to be a child of the camera. So you can kind of see you have this dependency where the camera is a child of the player and the entire background is a child of the camera. So when the sprite was in the player, if you wanted to squash and stretch the sprite, you would squash and stretch the entire background as well. And I think that's what Jeff might have been experiencing in the original version. So what I've done to fix it is I've just made player just a plain parent, and I've just delegated sprite responsibilities to this object called sprite here instead. So this is where all the animation and stuff goes on. Did that make sense, Justin?
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm gonna test it out now.
If you want an extra crunchy challenge, you're welcome to use the old version of the game and see if you can fix the problem yourself. It's not too bad. It's just moving it into a different object. It's kind of out of scope for an art tutorial, which is why I was like, damn, I'll just get people to download this new one instead of telling them how to fix it, because I feel like it detracts from what I'm trying to say.
What's the deal with like the term children or parents? Because I've heard some pretty absurd questions like how to separate a child from a parent with a fork. And it's like, you what?
It has very different meanings in coding and in family law, I will say that.
Yeah.
So this is, what degree are you studying out of curiosity?
Engineering.
Engineering, I see. Is it in software or?
No, I'm in sort of the first part of it.
Right.
But we haven't really done anything
Yeah.
with software. Yeah.
That makes sense, because in second year engineering, if you take software or computer systems or mechatronics, I think you will take a course, a 200 level course called object-oriented programming. And that covers this idea around children and parents. But I'm happy to give a basic explanation of it now. Basically, Unity focuses a lot on, and it's based around the style of called object-oriented programming.
Okay.
That's basically what the whole system is built off of. So basically the concept behind object-oriented programming is, instead of having just like one big code and a bunch of like functions and stuff like that, you create a bunch of these objects that all interact with each other. So if I were to give an example of inheritance, and then that's what I mean by inheritance, is a parent has a child. So a child inherits everything from the parent. So there might be a parent class called animal, and there might be a child class called dog. So dog is going to inherit all the common attributes that all animals have. And then you might want to create a little child class called dog, because there's maybe a couple of things that dogs do that all the other animals don't do, like bark, for example. So you might create a function called bark. It's just that's just for dogs. But all children of animal will have a class called breathe, for example, because all animals breathe.
What's the difference then between a class and an object?
That's a good question, actually. I think I would have been able to answer this in second year.
Yeah. Nice.
And yeah, I think
Isn't a class like the blueprints, and the objects is like the actual like an instance of the class and the blueprints?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think that's a good description of it, I reckon.
Like if you had like a cat and a dog, you'd have like the object would be like maybe cat one, and then like it does all this. You can like call the messages and shit on it, like cat one dot bark, whatever.
Yeah.
Dot bark. Oh wait, what? Wait, what?
Cat. That's an interesting cat you got there.
Meow, meow.
Yeah.
My brain is not at it today.
But coming back to Unity, basically how all this confusing stuff lines up with Unity and how that applies here is basically you can consider that basically you can have groups of parents and children, and a child is anything that's like basically a sub thing of a parent. So you can see on my screen here, if I'm still sharing, I am still sharing. For example, I have a parent called level, and I have all these things within level. So I have a win object. That's a child of level. I have a box, that's a child of level, and I have lots of ground, that's a child of level. So I guess the way I think about it is children make up their parent.
Okay, but can a child also be a parent?
A child can also be a parent.
Yeah.
So it's, I guess you could think of level as the grandparent of all these separate pieces of ground. So you can see even within ground has its own children. Ground is, I've labeled this a bit confusingly, so I could just call this like all grounds or something like that. But each of these, ground owns all these little pieces of ground that make up the level. So these are all actually separate blocks. So basically there's not really a limit on how far you can go with like how many children there can be. You can keep going in and in terms of inheritance. It's basically just like a relation to basically say, hey, this person or this object owns me.
Yeah.
And so, for example, with something like the camera, one thing I was saying earlier is I was saying, I could have the main character out here and create a script for it to follow the player, or I could just drag it and make it a child of the player. And those are two different ways of making the camera follow the player as he traverses the world. And this way works because if I make the camera a child of the player, the camera is basically like, hey, the player owns me now. I have to follow the player everywhere. I'm not gonna, everywhere I go is with respect to the player now. So it's a really quick way to make the camera follow the player around because the player owns the camera.
All right.
It is, I will say, I hope that makes sense. It is a lot to take in one go, and I think Unity can be overwhelming. Well, starting anything, like starting game development in general can be overwhelming, but it is, I think the best thing you could do with Unity and stuff is just keep doing stuff with it, keep trying to make games, and eventually it starts coming intuitively to you.
How long roughly do you think it took you to get to grips with like the basics of Unity?
Well, for context, last year I was in your position listening to the same tutorial from Clinton, and this year I am teaching the tutorial. So I didn't have any knowledge of Unity a year ago, and this is what I really like about Unity, because I think it's because it's quite intuitive, I was able to pick up how to make a game in about a year or so. The one other thing that's really nice about Unity is there's a massive online community. So sometimes if you're like, I really want to implement this mechanic, but I don't know how, or I can't be bothered thinking about how, you can just Google it and someone might have already done it. So you should be, so that's one thing that's really useful. On top of that, if you're interested in the coding section of the game, Unity is really nice in that you don't really actually have to write code that's much more complicated than if-else statements, or maybe like a cheeky for loop. But everything else is kind of like you basically go online and search up, look through Unity's documentations. If you want to do something in Unity, basically search it up, and Unity will probably already have a way to do it. For example, the physics in this game, Unity has its own physics system. So instead of programming all the gravity and stuff manually, all I had to do was basically tell Unity, okay, can you use gravity? And Unity's like, okay, and it does that for me. A lot of useful little things in Unity. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. If I could do a quick little interjection.
Yes.
So for free art and other like art assets that you could use, I know I posted this back during Clubs Expo, but I'll post it here like now as well. So I'm gonna post like free links, and they're really useful for getting art assets, or also to learn like how other people do the art by looking at examples. So I just posted in the chat 3 of them. And actually, should I screen share this? Izzy?
Oh,
You know I stop screen sharing.
Yeah. There you go. It's all yours.
All right. So yeah, this is the first link is Open Game Art, and it's probably like, in my opinion, the largest repository of like art assets from anyone. And the quality does kind of vary, but it gives you like lots of different like assets that people have already made that are released on CC licenses, Creative Commons licenses. And you can follow what Izzy mentioned for importing into Unity. So say I wanted to take, let's see what's good. Platformer. So yeah, you could just see what other people have made, and if you want, you could like use their assets, provided you follow the Creative Commons restrictions. So yeah, this one's public domain. It means you could use it without any attribution or anything. But other ones might have like BY, which means you have to give the name when you're using their assets in a game, or like SA share like, which means you can't change the license. The second link is the noun project. If you want to use like UI or like icons for tooltips or whatever. Say you want a player icon. So yeah, you see that these icons represent like player, like in this case, a YouTube player, but I guess if you want to like a human or something, might be different. Human. Yeah. All these assets, I think they're CC BY, so you just need to say this icon was found in noun project, and then you could use it for whatever. And the third link is for fonts. So say you want to use like, say you want like sci-fi looking font, then you look for good old monospace font, like the ones you see in IDE. Sci-fi font. Or say you wanted handwriting fonts for like, I don't know, a narrative game. Same thing.
This will be awesome. It's awesome for spicing up your game, because I think Text Mesh Pro only comes with Helvetica, if I remember correctly, and it's far from the nicest looking font in the world.
Yeah, I think the basic one that comes in built in Unity is Arial. And
It's Arial and Helvetica.
yeah, so those two are really basic, and if there's one easy way to mix up your game's look is to choose a good font for it. And it's mainly free fonts. Like Google Fonts is just one of them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Thank you. That's a really good point, Clinton. So if you can use all the principles we've learned here today to import any of those assets. So if you're not feeling artistic, or fair enough, you don't want to draw every single sprite for a whole game, those are really good resources to use, making your game look nice.
Cool.
Yeah. Josh, I want to talk to you in a breakout room. So yeah,
Yeah.
me
What?
and Josh will
Without me?
She
Rude.
saw some private matter, so
All right.
Why
Have
is
fun.
it worded that way? Seriously? Okay.
yeah, just give me a second. I'll just. Hello, I'm
Oh.
back.
Hello.
Yeah, I just had to talk about
Awesome.
some third-party stuff.
No worries. You guys always make stuff sound so suspicious.
Oh, it's for a
This
project.
is the whole point of what I was talking about, Winston. Every time, seriously.
I mean,
Oh,
we were gonna talk
yes.
about it during the meeting, but it was like
Yeah.
very late already.
It was literally just animation stuff. That's about it.
Yeah, nice.
Well,
Yeah.
we talked about our own animation stuff in this room, so that works out for us.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. Does anyone here have any experience of like position constraints in Unity or aim constraint?
Like Clinton.
Yeah.
What is a M constraint?
Like aiming, like shooting,
Oh.
aim constraint.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
Uh.
I'd screen share it, but it's kind of like secret stuff right now, so I can't.
Why do you need
Oh.
an aim constraint?
I want to aim at like an enemy, but I want it to be in such a way that I can animate it like as part of the animator workflow really well.
Oh.
Because I didn't want to just code it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So that's like. Anyways, what are you working on, by the way?
Well, mostly just having chats. I just hooked my game up to the animator, but otherwise seems like people are just working through their games. I was thinking we could wrap up soonish. People seem pretty on board with their work, and everyone is more than welcome to flick us a message on Discord if you're still working, if you keep working on this game in your own time and you need help with something.
Epic.
Also, I would like to like add in, but I hope to like do like a devlog series for the club on the project that I've been working on. But I haven't had the time yet. But I'm like working on like a small Unity project that I'm still learning. You know?
Is this a new one you're working on, or?
It's a new one.
Mm.
And once I got everything all set, then I'll start doing the devlog stuff.
Yeah. What's the vibe for this game, or is it a secret so far?
So it's like a 2D like farming game.
Right. That'll be fun.
Pretty good scope, you know, starting small.
Yeah. As long as you define your scope. I mean, you guys will be sick of me saying this eventually, but I do keep talking about it's important to scope your games appropriately.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll end up not being able to complete it or know what you're doing.
So we're not making AAA RPGs here? Oh, okay.
You all may not be here early, but I did like try to make like a pretty big game, like combat platformer, it's like a multiplayer game.
Yeah. I was really impressed with how you guys got multiplayer set up. That's not something I've done in Unity yet.
Me neither. I didn't do like any programming. I just designed like a multiplayer stuff.
Cool. Well, if everyone is happy to wrap up today, I'm happy to wrap up today. Any last questions before we ended the tutorial?
Thank you guys for hosting this.
No worries. I hope it was helpful. Hope it was not too rambly. I am good at doing that. But
That was pretty decent.
I'm glad it helped. Yeah, but otherwise, I will see you guys. Will you guys see? Are you guys going to come to the coding tutorial potentially? The same time next week.
Yeah.
Probably right.
But yeah. So these tutorials will be every Monday, just for the next. Well, club nights are every Monday at this time, but tutorials will only be running for the next 2 weeks because we only have a series of 3 tutorials.
Nice.
Semester 2, we run tutorials on slightly more complex stuff based on interest. Like, for example, like I mentioned earlier in the presentation, if there's interest, I could do a tutorial on bone rigging and animation. But otherwise, semester 2 is mainly focusing on having a go at those game jams.
Cool.
Cool,
Awesome.
I'm gonna head off then. It's nice to meet everyone.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you too.
Good.
See you later, guys.
All right.
Right,
Thanks for
yeah.
joining. See you guys.